All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Was the meeting properly announced?
Yes, it was.
Please stand for a moment of silence and a pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call.
Mullins. Did you hear anything from
I
him?
haven't heard anything yet.
Krug excused and Mullins. Hopefully he's coming in soon. Everyone else is present
And John.
and John's online.
Okay. Got it. All right. Motion to approve the agenda. Motion by that guy over there. Churko. Then that guy right behind him seconds it. All right, in discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Minutes from October 17 meeting. Looking for a motion. Motion by Gordy, seconded by Carverio. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposition, say nay. Motion carried. Public participation. You good? None?
Oh, we have two public participation.
We have two signed up. That'll come under the item they signed up under. Anything else? All right. Moving on. Announcement of meetings. Go ahead, Diana.
Report of supervisors' claims read by the county clerk and appoint 6 supervisors to approve the claims. Baker, Egersdorf, Gabarski, Podolsky, SPs, and Wimmer. Churko 193.84, Paler 47.14, Gilner 87.75, SPs 174.30, Dozel 878.48, Carvillo 61.55, Egersdorf 85.24, Bork 25, Edwards 135, West 175, Mullins 62.86, Gabarski 230, Carlson 123.23, McLaughlin 132.40, David 55, Beaversdorf 55, Olson 55, Paler 77.14, Time 69.41, Townsend 55, Waugh 55, total 2,833.34.
Thank you. Claims, none. Correspondence? Oh. None. Appointments? None. All right, that brings us to unfinished business, and we have 2 signed up to speak, and they will go first. Three-minute time limit.
Good evening. My name is Linda Arneson. I'm a county employee at the UW Extension Office, and I am here to speak in support of Supervisor Grabarski's motion, item 13 on the agenda. I am not in favor of having exit interviews or other personal information released verbally and in hard copy to all county board supervisors, even in a closed session. I believe information provided to human resources upon leaving a position is confidential, and the expectation is the information is kept safe. If you move forward with this closed session, I feel that future discussions and exit interviews will be compromised and that trust will be broken. People leave positions for many reasons and under various circumstances. Exit interviews allow departing employees to share what they feel is going right or wrong. It's also used to vent and air issues if there are any. I believe personnel issues are under the oversight of the Admin Finance Committee and should stay there. I don't see the purpose or point in bringing this information to the whole board, especially in writing. In my opinion, the chance that this information would remain confidential is nearly impossible when you involve that many people. I ask you to please reconsider the motion as suggested by Supervisor Grabarski. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Is Jane here?
She's online.
She's online. Okay, the next is Jane Juris. Go ahead, Jane.
I have nothing to say at this time.
Okay, then. Thank you. All right, we will get into the unfinished business. Grabarski has requested a motion to reconsider the motion made by McLaughlin Podolsky to have closed session as approved agenda item. With that in mind, I move to reconsider the motion relating to the county manager reporting to the full county board on all factual details, circumstances, exit interviews, correspondence, and financial settlements regarding to the departure of all employees from employment with the Adams County during the entire administration of the current county board manager. I was excused from the previous board meeting, and under 3B12, I am bringing it back to the floor. Do I hear a second? The motion is seconded. It is now open for discussion. McLaughlin.
Thank you. I have a question for you, Supervisor Grabarski. What prompted you to bring this back? Or actually, I'll get right to my point. Who prompted you to bring this back?
I'm a big boy. I don't need prompting. I know what the board rules are, and it allows for me to bring this back.
Okay, that still didn't answer the question.
Yes, it did.
No, it doesn't. Why?
I did not have prompting from
Okay,
anyone.
why did you bring it back? I'm asking, that's
I
not
just-
a question.
Okay, Phil, listen up. I know what the board rules are.
You know the board rules too. Thank
Okay,
you
apparently he
for-
doesn't want me to finish. Anyone else? Josh?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. I feel that some of these vacated positions could have brought forth a county liability. And these are the reasons that I think we should look further into vacated positions. There's a lot of unanswered questions. And I think we have a very strong right to look into these vacated positions, especially on some of the time and circumstances that I've noticed myself. So, thank you.
Welcome. Turkle.
I personally fail to see how the 20 individuals here have a right to personal conversations upon someone's exit from employment here. I don't know how the rest of the staff is ever going to feel if we open this up and allow all of that personal information out. I will definitely support the motion.
Supervisor Pease, Scott.
I concur on Mr. Chirko's, and I think the county employee that gave her 3-minute speech did very well. She explained it all. I think when somebody starts talking about liability and whatnot against the board, I think there's more liability if you go the other way. If you start telling everything in an exit interview to the whole county board.
Thank you. Rick Pease.
I agree also. I think that when we hired Cynthia to do her job, this is her job. She has to make hard decisions on employment all the time. And she's doing a fine job of it. And for us sticking our nose in there just opens up the door wider and wider and wider for more things to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill, you're gonna have to wait once until we get through the others. Baylor,
When somebody is. I've got it on, I'm not close enough. If somebody is discharged and they think they are wrongly discharged, isn't there some sort of a grievance procedure they can go through? And maybe that's a question for Cynthia.
address that.
Mr. Chair. So if there is a person that feels that they were wrongly dismissed, there is a grievance process and it then involves corporation counsel.
Supervisor Wimmer,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that the county board doesn't, at some point in time here, we're looking at an abdication of their responsibilities. We were sent here by the taxpayers of this county. And if you have an attrition of employees, it costs the county time and money to not only retrain them, but to get them up to speed. And basically what I'm trying to avoid here is a shuffling of positions not filled. And as part of the budget profit, or as part of the budget, we should know if there's payouts made to certain employees, whether they leave on their own, whether terminated. And just one added thing, there seems to be too many revotes coming back in this. I'm not sure where this is all coming from. There's a lot of buyer's remorse among supervisors, it seems to me these days. But I think we are responsible to the taxpayers. We should have this information. That's the only way we can make informed decisions if the county is doing their job.
okay,
Thank you.
yep. Jody,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Couple things. Board of Supervisors, it is my understanding that we have policy-making abilities, correct? Okay, so we have employee policy. To make the best decisions possible, I would think it would be imperative to be aware of why we are losing staff. Maybe there's something in unison that we can all do to better creating positions for the county and making sure that they stay staffed. The other item that I'd like to draw people's attention to is we need to attract talent to the county. And maybe by improving our employee policy, not having as much staff attrition, we would actually increase the attraction to the county for job opportunities. And lastly, and I hate to say, I know I said 2, 3. I'd be happy with identities being redacted. That's not the important part for me. The important part is, why are we losing people? What can we do to do something better so that we retain them and bring them in? So, thank you.
thank you. We've got Marge and then, okay, go ahead.
Okay, we as county board members are not supposed to be micromanaging the operations of this county. We hired Cynthia as a county manager to do that. As far as looking into employment records, they're confidential. We are not to be party to them. By doing our job, and if you insist upon going this route, I'm afraid we are going to lose a lot more employees. Unfortunately, it's not good. I have spoken with several of the department supervisors, and they all back Cynthia and the way she's managing. That's it.
Okay, is there anyone else that wants to speak first round? If not, we'll move into the second round. Supervisor McLaughlin.
Thank you. I guess, I feel the need to say a couple of things. I can see there's a large misconception amongst, sounds like employees, and some probably others, of why I promoted this idea and request in the first place. I don't want to get into the personal life of employees. That is not my reasoning at all, never was. It's to find out, it's more important to, like, I'll reflect on what Supervisor Shapey said to some degree. It's about people leaving. I don't care about their names either. That's not the point. The point is, there's a lot of people resigning around here, and enough of them are terminated. It makes me wonder what is going on that many people are resigning. So no, my interest is not at all to damage or invade the life of an employee, not at all. That's not even what it's all about. It's all about, like Supervisor Shapey said, there's been a hell of a lot of resignations in a year and a half. I mean, from June 2021 till present. So again, I reiterate, I'm not trying to delve into the employee's private life at all, not to a single degree. I'm after what Supervisor Shapey's talking about. Why are all these people leaving? Thank you.
Thank you. Josh Pozalski.
Thank you, Bob. So, yeah, I might reiterate, these were county employees paid for by tax dollars from the people of Adams County. I do understand that the morale of the county employees has been at an all-time low. I would wonder why that might be. Also, I've noticed in the directory that certain people have had positions, and the position was vacated. And then the next day, they're still here in another position. And even a third I've seen. So how many positions were handled, and were they full-time positions or were they part-time positions? These are questions that I might have had. And how was that, how was that pay if they were, vacating a full-time or a part-time position? That we'd like to know, and how they're still here. Why? That might be one thing, but this is a FOIA request. This is an open records request. And basically the public has a right to a FOIA for any positions of an employee, county employee, that especially vacated. And we, especially as county board members, should have every right to have a FOIA open records request on vacated positions of the county employee. So, thank you.
Corp Counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, this is not a simple request. There is one statute that says who can look at a personnel file, and that's the employee or the former employee or their representative. There is not a statute in Wisconsin that says that county board supervisors can look at somebody's personnel file. Our personnel policy manual also only allows for the employee to look at the personnel file. Now, having said that, like I said, this isn't easy. It's not a matter that somebody can just go into these personnel files, make copies of things and distribute it. They are public records. Our courts have said in our situation here in the county that personnel files are public records. They are subject to a public records request. But along those same lines, our courts had acknowledged that the confidential information in there, the personal information there, it takes extra scrutiny. There is some information in those files that cannot be disclosed by statute. We don't know what's in those files yet because we don't have the right just to go into it. We have a custodian of the records, one person that can look into those files right now because of their confidentiality. So there's some information that cannot be disclosed by statute. There's other information that if we want to disclose it, the employee has to be notified that we want to disclose it. The employee has the right to object to it, and we can have court hearings on that. And then there's the other thing that is done a lot with personnel files is the balancing test. This has to be done by the custodian of the records, and if there's issues concerning it, I get involved. But you gotta look at it and say, okay, is the public's right to know this information less than the individual's right to privacy? So there's a whole lot of things that have to be taken into it, and you have to do these personnel files on a case-by-case basis. So that recalls looking at each one separately, deciding what can come out, what might come out, and then making those determinations. So the information that you as supervisors might be requesting and want, you might not be able to get. And I can't, no one can make that decision until those files are looked at.
Thank you. Turco,
Supervisor Kozlowski mentioned that it was a FOIA request. Isn't there a certain, isn't there a certain process for an actual FOIA request?
Mr. Chair. It's actually under Wisconsin law, the public records request. So, and I was looking at this as a public records request. So there's not an actual form that's done, but the way that's done, you can assume that it's a public records request. So that's the way that I was looking at this.
Jody Chafee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a question for Corp Counsel. Two, actually. Who is the custodian of the employee records at this time?
Carol Wood.
Okay. And the other question, if we said redact the personal information, right? We don't want to know their identity. We just want to know what problems we have for their departure that maybe we could address. Would that change your statement as you have to go through every single employee record? You have to obviously redact that information, but at least we would have access to some information?
Again, I cannot make that statement. You do have to go through everyone because there might be information that, considering a balancing test for one person, some information, there might be something that shouldn't come out under the balancing test for one individual, but it might come out for somebody else, like an exit interview or something, depending what's in it. And again, there might be other information that we can't get out. So I cannot give you a specific without looking at each one or having it reviewed and the information brought to me.
Mr. Bork.
I think with the redacting, I think that's kind of a tough thing to do because if you're looking at exit interviews and we start looking through them and you can see what department they come from and where they've been, it isn't going to be too much of a stretch for half the people in this room to figure out who those people are. So redacting information, how far are you going to redact it? You're going to take out the department, you're going to take out their title, you're going to take out how many things. I think the redacting is, that's just way too far out there. Most of us could draw some strings in here and be able to figure out who each person is just off of the statement, even if their name wasn't in there.
Thank you. Dozo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my question was going to be originally to Jeff, and can we even get this information anyway? Because it's typically very restricted, even in the private sector. I think, and I'm trying to explain or play the middle here. Typically with HR, it wouldn't be uncommon for HR to have some reporting about open positions, number of turns, things along those lines, maybe department specific and things along those lines, which would be, I think, in normal HR reporting in the majority of organizations. So that may be something that we just look at adding that gives some visibility to how many people are leaving, how many people are coming, what open positions we currently have, those types of things. I think, I can't speak for the people that requested this, but that may get us to what they were intending versus what was actually in the request, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Anything up here? Cynthia, was you going to respond or not? Okay. Rick, please.
At admin 5, if you go in and look since, the HR has been reconstructed, you'll see that that's actually in there. They've been there, it's been in there for approximately 4 months, I would say. It tells you who has left, what positions are open, if somebody has changed positions inside the county. And, if it's gonna be vacant, if it's gonna be filled. I mean, that's all in there every month now. I mean, all you have to do is go in and look at the agenda and hit the HR tab, and that report comes up.
Thank you. Taylor?
I'm having a hard time trying to figure out what the end game is here. What are we hoping to achieve by bringing out all that
Told you
information?
that.
Marge Edwards?
I believe, excuse me, I believe that information is shared at the committee level. As I know several of the committees I'm on, we get a report on the positions that are vacated and the positions that are still open.
That's not even,
Okay. Zelsky?
Mr. Chair, no, that's not it at all,
what,
Marge. So I would like to remind everyone that back months ago, I requested information from the Human Resources Director. Now, the next day, the position was vacated. So I was not able to obtain this information that I had requested. And it had to do with our directory. I can say that. Now, I don't even know who took over Human Resources, the director position. I haven't been able to even figure that out. So how do I get this information? I haven't been able to get this information for months, and it's holding back progress that I was trying to make. So this is just one example. So thank you.
County Manager.
Mr. Chair, so with that comment right there from a board member, the position vacated in April. So if the issue was something that was very important, I would assume I would have been told. But so again and again, we're given these examples without any justification behind it, just to make a statement to a fact. But again, that position has been vacated since April 6th. Why are we just now hearing about it?
Many times, and haven't got responses, Cynthia. So there you go. I've asked for things and nothing, I get no response. So that's on you there. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on from that. Supervisor McLaughlin.
thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to comment again to regarding Supervisor Paylor's comment. I stated what I was the one who brought forth that original motion. I wrote it myself. I brought it forward myself. And again, I can see now clearly employees feel threatened about that. But then, and I'm thinking, listening to that, I guess I can understand that. But that was not, had nothing to do with my request, nothing at all. My request was very, very simply to find out why so many people are resigning and being terminated and what the circumstances were. Not because I want employees' information, because I want to know why the staffing at this county no longer, so many of them no longer want to work here and they leave. That was the sole purpose of all of this. If I wasn't that clear, maybe I wasn't of what my goal was. Well, I'm telling you now, I'm telling you for the second or third time, that was the goal. It didn't have anything to do with hurting or damaging or getting and invading employees' lives. It just has to find out why are so many leaving. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Cynthia.
so I'd like to reply to that statement that was just made. This stuff that's being presented to you now, think about this. Why now? If this was an issue, turnover, why is it just now being presented? I can answer that. and I have proof behind it. There was a recent investigation of a certain department, planning and zoning, okay? And I was told by a certain board member that if this investigation does not go in a way that he feels is the proper direction, that he's going to move on to now a plan B. I have all this stuff documented. And I said, what's plan B?
Never.
I
told
don't
me
know
either.
yet. Well,
No,
now we know
No,
what
you
plan
don't know.
B is.
No, you don't know.
Yes, we do.
No, you
Mr.
think.
Chair,
you
I
do.
yield.
Well,
I yield.
Okay.
She had her chance to say that now, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, there were a couple of things brought up here. One was micromanaging. You can accuse this board of supervisors of being a lot of things, but micromanaging is not one of them. I'll guarantee you. Number two, attrition of employees is one of the major concerns of all companies, and I would assume governments. Again, time and money is spent. Now, if this information is available, like it was just said in planning or in administration finance, why can't the supervisors see what information that the administration and finance has? You know, it's to protect the whole administration of this county, is to have people in place that want to stay here. If we can improve on that, fine. We don't need anybody's personal information. We need information on why people are leaving and what are the payouts. Are there payouts? Where is it in the budget?
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. May I finish, please?
Okay,
Cynthia?
go ahead,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Okay. County manager.
Okay, so here we hear a statement of employee attract, how do we attract employees and how do we retain them? You know how we retain them? Board members need to stop going to the staff and stressing them out. This is what's being brought to my attention. So you may think that what you're doing is a good thing and wanting to have all this backup. These employees are stressed. The statement that was made to me, I don't know who our boss is. Is it the department head or is it the board member? And I agree, yes, that could be very confusing. Who is the boss? So if you're really concerned about retention, I mean, if that's a real honest statement, you need to really think about that. These employees, and not just employees, this is department heads also. Why are people leaving? You're going to find out in these exit interviews. It's not so much about department heads. There's some, some things about communication, but more so, you're going to start seeing not just in one department, but there are other departments that complain that board members are crossing the line. They're stressed. They're not happy anymore. You want to talk about morale? That's one of them.
Maybe they should ask for Casey Bradley.
Don't know. Excuse me?
Mr.
Jan?
Chair,
Okay, who's that? Is that John? Kyle, okay. Go ahead, Kyle.
thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to point out, with regards to compensated absences, we have that presented in our audit, every year. We have the funds set aside for compensated absences. At the end of 2022, it was roughly $1.4 million. Now, we don't budget for those compensated absences because the money is already set aside. If it requires a budget amendment because of a large payout to an employee, then we will present that to admin and finance and then to the county board. Typically, because a position is vacant, we have to post it. There's a little bit of turnaround time involved with that process that we then free up some funds because the position was vacant for like a month or two. And that kind of helps with the payout.
Supervisor Churko.
I'm a little confused here, but Supervisor McLaughlin's motion, and I can see it. I think I'm reading the right thing. All factual details, circumstances, exit interviews, correspondence, and financial statements relating to the departure of employees from employment with Adams County. That doesn't seem like you're not asking for specific details about the employee, what they were, why they left, what they were compensated. The motion itself is very specific, which
Yes, it is.
I commend you for that.
Because if it's not, he will
But-
not accept.
But now it seems as though people are backing off of the specificity that's requested in the former motion. So I'm a little confused.
Rick Pease.
I sit on Wisconsin Workforce Development Board. And at the end of every meeting, we talk about issues in the county. And when you look at our vacancies compared to Oneida, Vilas, Lincoln, I want to say Vilas had one person left in their Health and Human Services Department. Another, Lincoln was borrowing sheriff's deputies from the neighboring county to cover part of their county. I look at our 5 or 6 vacancies we usually have a month is nothing compared to what other county, and they're getting drawn in from Marathon. Marathon County takes a lot of these people. I just looked at Rome. They just took Miss Gilbert to Marathon County. The administrator from up there, she leaves in November to go up to Marathon County. We're doing fine right here compared to other counties. All these people are leaving, we're at least filling jobs. These other counties aren't. So we are attracting people and talent.
Court counsel.
I just want to address, again, from the legal standpoint to what you said about what was specifically asked for. Just because it's specifically asked for doesn't mean it can be disclosed, because there might be things in the statute that says it can't come out. What I have to be careful for, and what we have, there has been former employees who have sued the county or their employer because information from their personnel files was released. So that's what I have to be careful, and that's what I have to look for.
All right, I think it's time that your chair interjects something, seeing as how you made the motion. Some of the things that was brought up earlier, and that is regarding the trust issue and getting things out to the public, even if we have it in closed session. I've been involved with board positions for actually several decades with different organizations. And no matter how much you want to keep things confidential, it tends to leak out somewhere. And here we're talking about 20 individuals. That's a lot to keep things totally confidential. You run into some things that through the years it's been, well, I don't keep any secrets from my wife. If you're going to do that, it's no longer confidential. It's not her fault. It's your fault because you shared confidential information. And when we start talking about we don't have any secrets and so forth, that's the start of it. I was involved with one organization that it got leaked out the following day. And as it turns out, the manager lost all trust in that board. And that was a slippery slope. And that's one that while we saved the organization, we went through financial hell to get that thing saved. And it all started in the boardroom. And that's not something that we want to happen here. This is extremely, extremely serious stuff that we're talking about. And you really need to look at it with both eyes wide open. Enough said. Josh.
Mr. Chair, I have to comment on that. Now, basically what I just heard from you is we're to be trusted in closed session for any other topic, but we can't be trusted for this particular topic in closed session.
That is not what I said.
That's what I heard.
Well-
We're not to be trusted here as board members with closed session material.
What I said is a challenge for 20 individuals to keep things totally confidential. And I didn't talk about much beyond that. And I'm cited an example of what happened and how it happened. So be cautious when you're stepping those boundaries.
Thank you.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to get a clarification from Corporation Counsel that the path of this, there's a motion and a second on the floor to reconsider. So that has to be voted on first, And then there has to be a new motion and another second and another vote on what's gonna transpire, correct?
No, that's not correct.
Oh, first,
Would you like me to explain how the procedure? Okay. Yes, there's a motion and a second to reconsider. So first of all, you vote on whether you want to reconsider the vote. If that passes, then we go back to the original motion and you can start debate on that again, although you covered the debate here too. You can cover it in either one or both. But then you would vote on your original motion again a second time. It doesn't require a second.
So I think we're at that. I'm sorry. Those all.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, again, looking at this, and Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong. Regardless of the outcome of this vote, we're legally not going to be able to share the majority of the information corrected. Most of it's going to be protected anyway. I mean, and I guess what I'm getting at is we're spending a lot of time talking about something that regardless of how it comes out, the information for the most part is not going to be shared. Not because I'm questioning Jeff or anybody else's leadership or integrity or anything along those lines, but just for legal reasons, that information is very protected. Am I incorrect in that?
Mr. Chair, in all likelihood, what you're saying is correct, but I cannot actually give you that answer without looking at it. But yeah, what you're saying in generality is true.
Jody Chafee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, so the goal is retention and attraction of talent is what I'm getting and what I was hoping for. Regardless, two things. Is there a way moving forward that a disclaimer that whatever is stated on a line on your exit interview will be ultimately shared with the county board to indicate why your departure is happening? That's one question. And two, actually, I'm just gonna let it go at that. I'm just gonna ask that.
You want to respond or? Otherwise, we'll move on.
Mr. Chair, try to think about. So how it works with an exit interview. People leave, whether it's resignation, even transfers. We're wondering, why are you leaving a particular department? You know, is there issues there that we need to know about? The one department that's been under fire lately is planning and zoning. No secret, it's out there. So the timing of all of this and statements that were made directly to me from a board member about a plan B.
you're reaching.
And then the timing, okay? Please think about that. This was not important 6 months ago. This was not important further back than that. So now with exit interviews, so there's an email that goes out. So employees are welcome to fill out this exit interview. The thing that I've actually stepped up since the restructure of the human resources department is to actually meet with them in person. A lot of people sometimes, when they put something in writing, they have a little bit more trepidation about leaving something in writing than it is to meet with me personally. And I do meet with them. We have an exit interview process now that's both written, if they want to go that route, and also in-person interview. If there are issues now being brought up, it's not being buried in a file. It's actually being accumulated. And I do work side by side with the board chair. He knows every move that's happening here. That's the position I'm in. The board chair and I should be working in tandem. No decision is made without the board chair being aware of it and others that are pertinent to it. You know, could be a department head issue. So it's not just about the planning and zoning department. I wish it was that simple. No, it is. We have a morale issue, but I believe it is turning around. So I don't know where all this negative morale is coming from. And if you board members are receiving those messages, why not tell me about it? Why bring it up on a floor as though it's a thing? And then I feel like there's nothing behind it. It might be a couple of people. Again, we have department heads or board members that are actually going to departments. And there's drama being created. I'm just being honest. There's drama being created. Now, the exit interview. So again, we go through this exit interview process. If there's things that are being identified, we've got a couple of people who are complaining that left a certain department. I can assure you that those things are showing up on evaluations. I'm not going to share those evaluations with you. You're going to have to trust me that my intent is to, it's easy to go, you're fired. It's harder to take somebody who needs some help managing, communication, all of that. If there are things that they made some bad decisions, perhaps they're not double checking their work. I'm going to work with them because to me, success means I can take somebody, turn them around. We don't have a huge market here of talented people. And what we do have is we have people who have talent in certain areas, but then we can grow them in other areas because again, the market is thin right now. That's my intent. Easy to fire. It's more of a challenge to turn people around and make them be better than what they thought they could be. I've had that and I've got success records here. You want that? No, you're not asking me about that. You're not you. When I say you, there's just some, and this is the plan B thing that I'm talking about. It appears to me as though this is being focused to one department. Please see what I'm seeing.
All right. Somehow we're gonna have to move on from this very shortly. Please stick as close as you can to the topics at hand so we can move on and take the vote. Jody, did you want to finish up?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. One thing I'm taking instance of is that I'm actually not referring to planning and zoning. Land and water, staff attrition is what was on many conversations for many, many months. And it was also at the committee level. So that is probably a well-published in recordings, in discussions, etc. So I just wanted to make sure that it's not an unknown. It's been there for a while and it has been attempted to be addressed. And maybe that's why I am such a stickler for I want to retain our talent and I want to attract talent. And I understand where County Manager Haggard is saying we're stressing the staff of the departments, but actually look at it on, say, my side. When staff actually come to me stressed, I didn't address it with them. They're addressing it with me. It's not coming from the county board supervisor. It's coming from internal, which is why I want to do the best that we can for our employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick Pease.
I just want clarification from council about, you said possibly 2 votes. So the first vote would be, if we want to reconsider, we should vote yes. Then the second vote would be just for that motion all over again, correct? Because I just don't want to vote the wrong way here.
Yeah, the first vote will be, if you vote yes, then you're going to reconsider the previous one. If you vote no, then you don't want to reconsider it.
I'd like to call the question.
Okay. I think that takes precedent, doesn't it?
It does.
Okay. So we need to, we need to clarify again. First of all, we'll reread the motion and then we are going to clarify it.
Supervisor Gabarsky, seconded by Edwards, request a motion to reconsider the motion to have closed session as an approved agenda item. County manager report to the full county board, including the following: all factual details, circumstances, exit interviews, correspondence, and financial settlements relating to the departure of all employees from employment with Adams County during the entire administration of the current county manager. Report is to be delivered verbally, in person, and in hard copy for all board supervisors.
Thank you. Corp Counsel, so I get this correct, a affirmative vote, then we will move on to another vote on Phil's motion. Is that correct?
An affirmative vote means that you will reconsider it, and yeah, then the next step would be to address the original motion.
Okay, and a no vote means, well,
No votes means that you don't want to reconsider it, that you're happy with what the vote was the first time around.
okay. McLaughlin,
Well, Taylor made a motion to call the question. You gotta vote on that. And all that means is to stop discussion.
he requested,
Yes.
he did
took
not,
vo-
excuse me, he did not make a motion. He requested.
Okay, I thought, or I'm sorry, I thought there was a motion. Well, you need a motion and a second if you're gonna do that, so.
I'm not sure about that. I'll have to refer that to corporate
I am
counsel.
sure.
I typically through the years, when someone requests the question, that we just vote on it. Now, if you want to get beyond that, then I need corp counsel to advise.
Yes, if nobody's objecting when it's called the question, if it's not objecting, then you don't need to have a motion. Everybody agrees to it. But if somebody wants to continue the discussion, then there would have to be a motion.
Okay. I see no requests. So with that, I think we can proceed to vote. A yes is to reconsider the motion. And a no is to leave it as it is currently, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You ready? All right, you may proceed to vote. I must have pushed John's.
You're 16.
Excuse me?
John's offer down. John,
Yes.
Okay.
total votes 18. 11 yes, 6 no. And Sale no.
Again, do those again, would you please?
Sale no.
No, no, okay.
Mr. McLaughlin said that his vote is incorrect.
So now you have 11 yes and
7 no.
7 no. Okay, the motion passes. Corp counsel, help me out here.
Okay, now you are going to consider the original motion. You go back to where you were. You can debate whatever else normally is done at that time. Again, a lot of the debate was covered before, but you still can debate again on it.
Supervisor Pozdolski.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. So, just, in response to Cynthia's comment, this information was important 6 months ago, a year ago. That's why we're going back a year and a half or whatever the case may be. So that's important. And I also might point out that the information I requested, I noticed that there were inaccuracies in our county directory. So I had to, the way that it was listed, everybody's listed, there was inaccuracies. So I need a formal, accurate directory that I requested from the Human Resources Director.
Okay, Josh, I'm not sure that has a lot to do with what we're voting on right now. So maybe you can withhold that, please.
Okay.
Rocky.
Based on what I'm hearing from Corp Counsel, I see no reason to have this closed session, so I will be voting no.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go
Point
ahead.
of clarification of a statement that was made earlier by a board member regarding land and water versus planning and zoning. It is in fact managed by one person. Okay,
All right, we gotta move on. Taylor,
Do we have to wait until the closed session on the agenda before we vote on that, or are we gonna do that now?
No, you would vote now and obviously it,
all right, so you know.
And I will point out that Health and Human Services also had a lot of employees leave months back, and also the Sheriff's Department. Now, we know there's issues within Health and Human Services, that's no secret. I might ask, when these employees are vacated, were they given severance pay or any kind of benefits, or were they just kicked to the curb with nothing? And that's something that we should know. I mean, that does affect the morale of the employees as well, so this is important information, everyone. We have every right to learn more information, and we should accept more information. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Jody,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, so in reference to what Supervisor Paler and Corp Counsel just said, if we got to the closed session, are we at a position where any information can be shared at this time? Because it didn't sound like it would be forthcoming at this closed session anyways, correct?
Mr. Chair.
yes, go ahead.
Right, yeah, there is no information to present at closed session, so there would not be a closed session.
All right, so as I understand it, we will be voting on the original motion made a month ago by, excuse me? I do. All right. Can you got something, you can reread that motion that we'll be voting on again, please? Sorry about that. I think it's important that we know what we're voting on.
The county board will convene in closed session per Wisconsin Stat, section 1985, for the purpose of considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of the specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific personal problems, or the investigation of charges against specific persons, except where par applies, which if discussed in public would.
You only need to read Bill's original motion.
Those original. Okay. Motion to have closed session as an approved agenda, county manager report to the full county board, including the following: all factual details, circumstances, exit interviews, correspondence, and financial settlements relating to the departure of employees from employment with Adams County during the entire administration of the current county manager. Report is to be delivered verbally, in person, and in hard copy for all board supervisors.
I am requesting Corp Counsel to explain the yes vote and the no vote.
The yes vote would mean that we would proceed with looking through the personnel files to try to obtain this information or what information we're allowed. No vote means that we're not going to be looking for this information.
You ready? With that, we will proceed to vote on the original motion. Go ahead. Drops. No voted drops.
West,
No.
total votes 18, 6 yes, 12 no. Sale, yes.
All right, that motion fails. So that is now off the table. All right. We're gonna move on to reports and presentations. Derek Smith. Any questions for Derek? Thank you. Treasurer's outstanding check authorization. Janie, you are present. Anything you want to mention?
It's just a yearly report. Outstanding checks. We just basically you authorize, you write them off and eventually go. Of the,
Rick Pease, or excuse me, Scott Pease.
I'll make a motion to eliminate them.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Committee minutes. You see what's there. Hopefully you've had a chance to review them. Any questions? Seeing none, we will move on to ordinances. Ordinance number 18.
Ordinance 18, 2023, amendment to the Adams County zoning ordinance properly located in the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter of the northwest quarter of the northwest quarter, being lot 1 CSM 5824, section 10, township 14, north, range 6 east, town of Del Prairie, Adams County, Wisconsin, 1000 Gem Court, recommended for enactment by the Adams County Planning and Zoning Committee on this first day of November 2023. Gilner, Churkel, Knockreiner, Shapey, Crivolio, Thiessen.
Moved by Gilner, seconded by Churko. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor? Do we have to do this little feller? Josh, you got yours working? All right, just check.
West,
Yes.
total votes 18 yes, 2 Sale yes.
Okay. Motion is passed. Ordinance is passed. Resolution number 35. Clerk, please read when you're ready.
Resolution 35, 2023 for Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources Surface Water Grant for nutrient testing in the Big and Little Russia Cree watersheds. Recommended for adoption by the Land and Water and UWX Committee the 7th day of November 2023. Shapey, Moans, Wimmer, McLaughlin, Egersdorf, Paler.
Motion to approve. Bork, seconded by Gordy Carlson. Open for discussion. Ozdalski.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I see that they're gonna collect these samples once a month. Now, that's kind of vague. We know that runoff occurs, especially when there's heavy rain events. So I would think that we should be testing before, during, and after heavy rain events. We know that based on what I saw at the Soil and Water Convention at the Kalahari last spring, that Adams County here has an especially high nitrogen and phosphorus bank, which are contaminating our waters, whether it be our lakes and streams or our groundwater supplies. So we should be looking at this in a way that it's not just once a month. I mean, who's deciding what time of month or when in the month these samples are going to be collected? So that's one question I have for somebody.
Supervisor Gilner.
This motion is to approve a grant, not how they do their job.
Anyone else? Rick Pease.
Are we the grant, I'm assuming we're the grantee share? Do we budget for that considering this grant was coming up?
What's that?
Is Kyle on?
Kyle, are you still on? Come on, Kyle, we're here. You gotta be here.
I don't see him.
You don't?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
this is what I can offer. It should be in the budget if it's gonna happen. So if this is a 23 expenditure, it's a 23 budget item. If it's gonna be happening in 24, I haven't really read that in length. But if it should be budgeted, if it's not, then it comes back with a budget amendment. And that's where you need 2/3 vote. But we do have land and water here. Do you recall the discussion of this being in the budget? Oh, that's what's wrong.
Mr. Chair. In regards to being in the budget, I would say that, that was glossed over. I don't know if it's in the budget or not, to be honest with you. So I do know that we did discuss, the donation from Farmers of the Rosha Creek. I do know that we have other members of the committee here if they wish to, add their commentary. We did talk about the budget a lot, so thank you.
Bill, go ahead.
Thank you. Just a comment, once again, when it comes to the budget and several other things, we hear, it should be. It should be there. It should be.
Mr. Chair. When
Yes, go ahead.
you have, if he's, when Supervisor McLaughlin's finished.
He is. Go ahead.
I mean, as I read it, it talks about it being an in-kind match of salary, benefits and mileage. So that stuff I believe would be in the budget because it's just, they're documenting that they're using their mileage and salary and wages for that. So it's part of their job duties is what I would read there.
Okay, hopefully that answers it. All right. Ozdalski.
I also might mention that we should be looking for salt runoff as a pollutant. But this is a very deceptive motion or resolution in that it's not gonna actually identify pollutants and what we need to have happen. So my vote's definitely gonna be no on this, as everybody probably already suspects, because
Okay,
this is a joke. Thank you.
you bet. All right, anything else? If not, are you ready? We shall proceed to vote. Yes, from Salem. West.
West.
Yes.
Total votes 18, 17 yes, 1 no, Podolsky, and 2 yes from Sale.
Glad to see that's working for you, Josh.
You're looking good up there in the chair, by the way.
All right, moving on. Petitions, none. Approved claims. You gotta help me with that. You ready? Go ahead. Need a motion?
So moved.
John moved, seconded by Rick Pease. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Approved per diem and mileage.
Churko 258.84, Paler 197.13, Gilner 240.50, Wimmer 240.50, SPs 181.55, Podolsky 216.92, Shapey 199.90, Dozel 193.08, Crivello 188.10, Egersdorf 177.62, Bork 192.03, Edwards 175, RPs 175, West 192.50, Moans 190.72, Gabarsky 88.10, Carlson 193.34, Baker 227.40, McLaughlin 201.20, total 3,729.43.
Do I need a motion on that? All right, looking for a motion for that. Bork, seconded by Carlson. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposition, same sign. Motion carried.
Motion for the county clerk to correct any and all errors and read back at the next meeting if so requested.
Motion by Gilner, seconded by Taylor. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next meeting date. And I can
December 19th at 6 PM.
Mr. Chair.
Jody Chafee.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I would like to put on as an agenda item for consideration next month that any committees that have public hearings involved in their process are encouraged to meet at 6 PM when the public can attend.
Okay, I'm not sure what's going, what? All right, we're gonna let Corp Counsel just briefly describe what's going on there.
Okay, right now, the committees set their own times.
I'm
So,
I'm saying in general.
yeah, I think that that would have to be a change to the board rules then regarding the committees and what they have.
So noted. Thank you.
Pozdolski.
I have an agenda item. I'd like to know why some of these committees meetings have been canceled. I know Health and Human Services has been canceled a lot. Solid Waste and others. I've talked to at the last county convention, and they don't do this in any other county. They have their meetings, whether they have something on the agenda or not. So I'd like to put this on the agenda and find out why these are being canceled and what we can do about it.
Corp Counsel.
Again, that would be in the board rules. It's under the committees. The committee chair has the authority to, so you'd be asking for a change in the board rules.
Now,
Supervisor
I'm sorry, can I,
Go ahead, finish.
does that come to the board chair or is that just the committee chair, Jeff?
As far as whether the meeting is held or not,
Yes,
that's the committee chair's decision.
just not the
Nope.
board chair. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Supervisor McLaughlin.
Thank you. I have a comment regarding committees also. I don't know if this is universal through all the committees, but it certainly is with at least a couple of them, where public comment is taken before everything else, which is the most stupid place to put it. Because the public ought to be able to listen to all the stuff that goes on in discussion and then be able to comment. And then they're not allowed to. So I mean, calling these public meetings is a little misleading because they're not at all for the public. So I'm saying that when the 3 minutes, whatever it is given to a citizen, they want to speak, they should be able to hold it, if they want to, tell the committee discussion is finished and then they speak. The way it's been done now is ridiculous.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Okay,
County
so,
Manager.
yes, so we have one item about meeting times and public hearings, and then we also have another concern to me that, and all this stuff should fall in the board rules. So if you have ideas about changing board rules, I'm looking at you, because you serve on the board or the committee. So bring those forward because we're gonna be looking at the board rules. And so if it can be, for instance, about the meetings and not, it says in the board rules that if there's no business to be conducted, so what is the definition of business? I reached out to Corporation Counsel, which is why I responded to an email about, if there's no business to be conducted, that was interpreted as meaning no actionable items, which means you would vote or give direction on something by vote. So that was my interpretation. So if that needs to change, now's the time to kind of revamp our board rules because that's what drives our decisions.
Mr. Chair?
One last time.
I'll say this, at least you give some opportunity. That I'll give you, Mr. Gabarsky. Now, what was I gonna say? Oh, okay, board rules. Do the board rules, when there's proposed changes, do they come to the full county board or is it a handful of other people?
I can address that. We go through as a committee. There's the 3 officers and 2 others. And we go through all the board rules and listen to any input. And then that's done with the old board. And then we have the election and the new board actually approves the board rules.
As forwarded by the previous group.
This group here will go through the board rules for 2024 through 26. So yes. That was a long answer to a short question. Sorry. It's starting to get dark out. All right, Jody.
So I'm just wanting confirmation. The ultimate decision for a committee chair, it falls on the committee chair to make the ultimate decision whether a committee is going to be called for a meeting or not. With no other, you can consider other input, but basically it falls on the shoulders of the committee chair, period.
Right, it does, but I think the consideration of getting that if it's not conducting business, they might not get paid. So, but yeah, ultimately the committee chair decides. So.
Thank you.
As the agenda is also the responsibility of the committee chair. So, Pozdolski.
So as an upcoming agenda item, how about we discuss the board rules and see if there's any changes we can make or discuss changes that we should be making in the next meeting.
No. This
I
will
mean, the
fall
board-
within the committee and you can have input in the committee.
But I'm talking about the county board here. Let's discuss the county board rules and see if we can make changes.
Well,
to the
we're
county
jumping
board
ahead. So I don't think
for the
that would
next
be
agenda
very
item.
efficient.
I'm just talking about an agenda item to add
know you are.
to the next agenda.
Wimmer.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, when board member goes to
Is he ordinary? Never mind. All right, no, they have a certain priority, that usually the committee chair will identify them sooner than, a citizen member. So not a citizen member, but a citizen, at the committee. So you still don't, and you know that. Yep. But a lot of times, and most times I would say that they are identified because they are a board member. So. Okay.
because in the committee meetings where they've all walked in.
Huh.
I can see why maybe, but.
Go ahead.
Stated. My understanding is that when we go to a committee outside of our responsibility, our committees.
Yeah.
That we go as public. We do not go as a supervisor, is my understanding.
Again, if You want to answer that or?
Yeah, I will ask. No, because actually you could have the whole county board go to another committee and now you've got open meetings law violation. So you are going as a supervisor. You're not voting though.
We always are county supervisors, no matter what committee meeting we're at. So we never lose that position, everyone. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
McLaughlin.
Oh,
Thank you. Now, where was I? Other non-members on a committee and there's a closed session, are board members allowed to stay in such closed session on another committee?
What's that?
Yeah, that's per the committee chair. It's up to the committee chair.
Yep.
That's very interesting. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Well, again, there's confidentiality. And if a supervisor that comes in that's not on the committee does not agree to the confidentiality, they will be asked to leave, and that will be according to the committee chair.
Okay, so if, let's just say I want to go to one of these meetings, it's a closed session, I signed everything you want, that I'll keep my mouth shut, so then I can attend, yes, no?
It's up to the committee chair.
Okay, again, that's scary too, so now, yeah, well, I'm just, for obvious reasons, I don't have to explain them, for Pete's sake, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
So one question that was presented to me in other meetings, this comes up. So when you have board members attending committees that they're not a member of, and they're called on as though they're in the public, I think they were told like 3 minutes. So is there a time limit? And if there is, perhaps that's another consideration for the board rules. You want-
All right. Thank you all. This meeting stands adjourned at whatever time it is, somewhere before midnight. All right, thanks, guys.